online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to the Wycombe Wanderers Show. It's an international break, and you might think, well, it's an international break. They don't have much to talk about in an international break, do they?
We do.
On the evening that England play the Republic of Ireland in a friendly.
The exciting news is Daryl Horgan starts for the Republic of Ireland against England tonight at Wembley.
Fantastic. So we're on the show this week. We'll be looking back on the defeat at the City. You were at the City Ground?
I was at the City Ground, yes. We did okay. But you definitely got the impression that, the last three games have maybe slightly taken out of us a little bit.
And also, we'll speak to the man who captained the side the last time Wycombe Wanderers were at the City Ground in 1996.
And not only that, but we are also speaking to a man who is a Wycombe legend, a Nottingham Forest legend, Norwich City legend, Celtic legend, Leicester legend, and Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland legend. The one and only Martin O'Neill spoke to Colin Besley, and so we will be listening to Martin, the whole interview coming up later on the show.
Lots to look forward to. Yes, we're a bit pushed for time. Better crack on.
Indeed.
So tell us your first impressions, I guess, or overall assessment, if you like, of the game on Saturday.
Yes. Nottingham Forest, they played well. Definitely, as Dobbo said to me after the game, probably they are actually in a false position when you actually watch them and see. I think Chris Hughton is probably going to turn them around. Wycombe. It was very much like the Birmingham game, to be honest. Yes, Nottingham Forest are probably a better team, than Wycombe Wanderers are, and if they play to their potential, then probably yes, they are going to beat us. And unfortunately, that is what happened, obviously. But we did all right, and had a couple of things maybe gone our way. Bayo, in particular, had a fantastic header which just went wide. Had he put that in, then you never know. It might have been like the Birmingham City game. We might have actually been able to not snatch 1 point, but actually all 3 points. But as it was, that just went wide of the post, and of course Nottingham Forest then went straight down the other end and scored to make it 2-0. And really, you thought, right, okay, that's our chance for today.
Never really sure at this time of the season if you can take too much from the league table, but it is strange to see Forest down there, to see Derby down there, teams like that, and especially who've done Wayne Rooney's Derby.
And also both of these teams were spoken about as being sort of Premiership, contenders with regards to promotion or at least the playoffs. And the fact that hasn't happened at all, you do think, well, what on earth's happening? And as you say, they're not Derby County anymore, are they? They're always now Wayne Rooney's Derby in the way that they were Frank Lampard's. What are they doing down there? But for us, again, well, long may it continue.
Absolutely. And Richard Dobson continued to remain in charge. Gareth not quite match fit, and Bob spoke to him after the game.
The stats were interesting. So 5 shots on target. You have more corners than them, and possession, actually, I think we have 40% to their 60.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the stats, but I had a feeling that it would probably be close on chances created. I think we made some good opportunities today, and the second goal is the pivotal moment in it. At that point, we were on top and pushing for an equaliser, and I think the longer that stays 1-0, the more nervy they get. Obviously, the breakaway and a bit of a fortunate ricochet that falls into his path allows them to get that 2-goal head start on us, and at that point, they can play a counter-attacking game and sit deep, which probably suits their players, and it makes it a lot tougher for us because of the bodies they get back.
And it was unfortunate because Bayo had a good header just before then they made it 2-0. If that had gone in, well, we might have been looking at a game a bit like Wednesday night.
Yep, isn't that always the way? You miss a good chance, they go down the other end and score. We created several chances today, a little bit unfortunate on a couple. Keeper's made a couple of good saves. Rocky's had to make a couple of good saves. Probably for the neutral, a good advert for Championship football, I would have thought. But there were some pleasing moments about what we did today, and I certainly feel that Forest are a side in a very false position in the league. I think we'll find in a couple of months' time they'll be in the top half of the league and pushing towards the bottom end of the playoffs, certainly in terms of the talent they've got in their squad and a very good manager that knows this division well. So having done our analysis on them, we felt they were in a false position. The last couple of games they could have easily won by 4 or 5. They were that good in the game, and in actual fact today I thought we went toe to toe with them for long spells.
I think what's great going into the international break is that actually you could say the same about us at the moment.
Yes, yeah, and it's important that we carry that momentum on when we come back. We have to use this as a chance to recharge our batteries, but certainly not take our foot off the pedal. Continual growth is really important in terms of performances, and there was a lot of aspects about our performance today that I was more pleased with than maybe the Birmingham and Sheffield Wednesday games. So. We got to be realistic about the fact that in this division, other teams have very clinical strikers, and probably that's the one difference in the two sides today.
It was good to see that Anis started, and also Gareth coming on. He looks like he's going to be a real handful for teams. Yeah,
both really bright. Anis, as a young lad, shows great calmness about his play. Has got a lovely eye for a pass, and he's going to be a class player. As he grows and gets more experience, I think he's got a touch of class about him. Gareth, I thought, gave us a more dynamic approach on the right. He wants to get forward. He wants to get crosses in the box, and I certainly thought he was a threat when he came on, and delighted that he's part of this club now.
Are you expecting that by the time we play Brentford it will be Gareth Ainsworth standing here chatting to us?
Yeah, I would hope so now. Yeah, it gives him another couple of weeks to recover. He wanted to make the trip, but after a couple of hours of being on his feet at the training ground, he suddenly realised that it was going to be impossible this time round. So the next 2 weeks should give him plenty of time to recover, be back, and hopefully we'll be back to full strength on the coaching side fairly shortly.
I would imagine that it's been very busy for you over the last week, so you're probably looking forward to the international break just to be able to spend a bit of time at home.
It is, yeah. I've been a lot more of a coach this week and a lot less of a dad, and the time spent on the iPad at home, even when you are home, the kids are asking you questions and you're asking yes or answering yes and no, and actually you think, was that even a yes or no question? That you're so busy thinking about the team and what needs to happen next. So yes, it does increase the workload without a doubt, but needs must, and that's what we're all about. The club's one for all and all for one, and we've lost Gaz, but we all have to step up to the breach.
And of course, the brilliant news is that Gareth is now back at the club. The Blues played a practice game, they called it, on Tuesday, where they played Bournemouth under-21s. Gareth was there because the club tweeted a picture of himself and Dobbo and Pete Couhig, and even better, we won 4-1 and Alex Samuel scored a hat-trick, so not a bad afternoon's work.
It's been all in all a good week.
It has, indeed, yes.
I must say a massive thank you to JDT and Alan Hutchison at the Ex-Players Association for sorting us out this evening's two guests coming up very soon. We're very excited. That doesn't quite cover it, to be honest, to be having Martin O'Neill on the programme. But first, I've been catching up with former captain and caretaker manager as well, Terry Evans, to find out about how he became a Wycombe Wanderers player.
It was the season Brentford brought Dave Webb in. They got rid of Phil Older, and they brought Dave Webb in, and more or less from the start I knew that that wasn't in his plans, so it was a case of getting out of there. And I was talking to Jason Cousins, and he said he'd mentioned me to Martin, and I think a couple of weeks later Martin just got me in on loan, and the first couple of weeks didn't go so well. The boys were doing well. I wasn't in the starting lineup or anything like that. Then got a couple of run-outs. Don't think I played that great at Hereford. Then sort of just picked up. I just told Mike I just need to get fit, because in that summer I'd had some staples taken out my knee from a previous surgery. So once that was out and I got fit, I started to feel my feet, and the boys sort of got round me, give me a hand, and rest is history really. Played about 4 or 5 games on loan, and then I think Cuz got sent off. He was club captain. He got sent off one of the games. I think it was maybe the Doncaster game or something like that. And while I was on loan, Martin sort of asked me if I'd captain the team. So that was great. And I think it was after I scored the equaliser against Coventry in the League Cup. It went to extra time. He just said, "Okay, so I'm going to pay the money and sign you tomorrow." So that was that, really.
And as I say, we spoke to Glenn Creaser earlier in our sort of series, if you like, and he was saying, in your sort of back line, you must have played with such confidence because you pretty much knew that not much was getting past you.
No, it was good. It was solid, Creaser was solid. There was Cuz on the right. I previously played with him a few times at Brentford. We had Matt Crosby on the left, another solid defender. So and very. All of us fairly decent in the air. So it was a strong defensive team.
And what was it like playing under Martin O'Neill? I'm sure you get asked a lot.
Oh, it was brilliant. You know, he was out and out winner, brilliant mindset, fantastic. Just getting the boys up, getting the best out of everyone. He was tough on you. You know, demanded the best, but when you're performing, you know, he'd look after you, give you a bit of time off. You know, the rewards were there if you performed.
It must have been such an incredible time to be at the club as well, especially with the promotion through the playoffs, especially.
Yeah, it was all that. You know, the club was always on the up, wasn't it? You know, it was knocking on the door for a couple of years to get into the football league. Got into the football league, held its own straight up through the playoffs. It was incredible times. You know, it was a brilliant club to play for, and you know, brilliant staff, brilliant players. You know, it's very, very small staff and team compared to what there is around these days, but that kept it quite tight and quite friendly. Even sort of like the 3 or 4 lads, the fringe lads that sort of weren't getting in the team. You know, they'd be straight in the dressing rooms after the game, reading out the results. You know, how other teams had gone. It was a real tight team.
I was going to say, such a special group of players that you had around that time. Well, really throughout the period that you were at the club. Yeah,
it was. It was real, you know, no egos. It was just a working team. You know, everyone knew their roles. Everyone knew what their job was, and you know, nobody let anybody down. It was a real sort of like workman-like team.
And you mentioned you got given the sort of the captaincy quite early, but fantastic to have the armband for the period that you did as well.
Yeah, oh Christ, yeah. You know, it was always great to lead the boys, and you know, obviously, Mike giving me it so early on. You know, it was a real pump up for me to get that, you know, and obviously some great leaders before that, you know, Crease, Cuz, you know, Crease obviously with his bad foot injury, he stained at work, you know, it was, you know, obviously I was lucky to sort of get the armband. Unfortunate circumstances for those two boys, but yeah, cherished it when I got it.
Are there particular matches during your time at Wycombe that especially stand out?
Yeah, well, it was the Coventry game in the Cup was a huge game. When we was 3-0 down from the first leg, pulled it back to 3-3, and then I'm not sure. I think we might have even gone a goal up, and then they scored the away goal from a free kick, I think, late on. But yeah, that's a big game that stands out.
Are there any sort of behind the scenes stories, if you like, that you'd be happy to share with us that sort of stand out from your time at the club?
It was just one. The game when Cuz got sent off for his 2-foot tackle. You know, we'd come in at half time, and I think he'd been sent off like 5-10 minutes before, and he was in the shower, showered up, all soaked up, and O'Neill just come in and dragged him out by his ear and just threw him into the into the tunnel area. That was hilarious. Bless him, poor old Cuzzo. But for me, I didn't even know what Mike said at half time. I was just curled up in the corner trying to stop him seeing me laughing.
Oh, it's a brilliant story. It's fantastic for fans to kind of get that kind of insight as well, isn't it? Because obviously when you're in amongst it as well, it must be very sort of very difficult, very different feeling as well.
Yeah, it was. He was. You know, although he could be ruthless, Martin. You know, so some of the stuff he would do would just crack me up. It was quite funny sometimes. You know, he would be tough and put it into you, but you know, sometimes you would just be laughing. You know, there was a time when I think Chuck was playing for the second team and you know, let a few in and got a bit of a drubbing. And he was posing in the mirror doing the old Chris Eubanks pose, and O'Neill come in and said to him, he said, Chuck, he said, you remind me of Joe Bugner. And Chuck said, oh, why? Because of my physique and that. He went, no, he said, because you wear gloves for no apparent reason as well. And it was just, he was cutting. He could ruin you, within one sentence. I think that's another thing with the boys that he brought in. He brought in, and they could handle that. They could take that criticism. You know, I know that sport's changing and the game's got a little bit softer, but I'm not sure many could sort of take the criticism or the stick that was dished out then.
You mentioned as well briefly your knee. That's obviously something which kind of led in a way to your interest in becoming a physio as well.
Yeah, that were me downfalls. My knees, both. I'd done cruciates in, and then against Fulham in one of the cup games, I did the medial ligament So yeah, sort of suffered with my knees, and that's where Martin was good as well. He sort of looked after me during the week. You know, I didn't have to get involved in every training session. Dave Jones was physio at the club at the time. He was very good, looked after me. Best management of my knees, and being close with Dave and working with him quite closely, him trying to get me ready for games each week. I sort of picked up a bit of knowledge on the injuries. You know, I'd see him treating other lads and making diagnoses, and yeah, that got real interest, and me and Dave got fairly close as well. And you know, up until this day, you know, very good friends.
Because after you left the club, obviously you came back as the youth team physio. That must have been something which was great in terms of, you know, you'll be able to sort of pass on your own experience in terms of playing and also injuries as well onto the youngsters.
Yeah, I think it helps. You know, you know, sometimes, you know, you're in a club environment, team environment. When you're injured, sometimes it's a dark place, lonely place on your own. And when you've got some good people around you, you know, like other players that are injured, you know, you can build up rapport with, you know, good support medical team. Well, you know, just Dave sort of run it on his own with Gina Allen, the doc, who would pop in sort of once or twice a week. They looked after us very well and got us through, you know.
And then latterly you came back as a caretaker manager, I recall, as well. That must have been fantastic to sort of help out, if you like.
Yeah, it was the same time I was sort of on the on the physio team, so I was just working under Dave, looking after the academy. Unfortunately for Neil got the sack, and Ivor just asked me to step in while they looked for another manager. So I was happy to take that on at the time until Saints come in. But yeah, just enjoyed it all. You know, I've just obviously got real fond memories of the club and a special place in my heart for them. You know.
What do you think makes it so special? Because obviously speaking to ex-players and obviously current players as well, with the current achievements of being in the second tier of English football, it does seem there's such a real kind of family feel, isn't there, about the place?
I think that's what it is. You know, everyone's quite close. It's always been a tight-knit club, and very very similar to Brentford up the road. You know, where I was. You know, you go back there and it's sort of like the same old faces, same old crowds, but you know, really nice, genuine people, and you know, people who always had time for you. And you know, I was always happy to share times with them. And I think over the years they've always sort of recruited fairly well. You know, you get some good lads in, good players, and people who are just genuinely nice human beings.
There must be a number of parallels actually between the two clubs, obviously, especially now with them both being in the Championship.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's lovely to see. You know, they're the two results I look for, sort of midweek and Saturday's winners games. You know, so I mean, they're the sort of two teams that I'd come along and watch. So. The same sort of fan, the same sort of setup. Really, it is crazy, but yeah, a lot of similarities.
You must have been so pleased, considering, you know, when you were at the club, it was what was then the third division, and now, as I say, to see them in the Championship must be very very pleasing. Yeah,
he's done a fantastic job there to pull them up. Gareth and Dobbo. I had Dobbo with me. Dobbo was my boot boy back in the day at Brentford, so great to see Dobbo cracking on. And the boys, you know, they're fantastic achievement, you know, and things looked a bit rocky probably about 18 months, 2 years ago. Hopefully things have turned around. I know they're struggling with a few results at the moment, but, you know, I'm sure they'll turn that around.
And what have you been doing sort of since post then? Fans may not know sort of what you're up to currently.
I'm heading up the sports medicine, like the head physio at Ealing Trail Finders Rugby Club. So we're not Championship. We're Championship. We're not Premiership. So we're just one below. But we've been unfortunate. We've come second for the last 3 years, and it's we always come behind the team that's been relegated from the Prem. So this year, Saracens have been relegated over payment issues with their staff, so they've been immediately relegated. So we've got to take Saracens on next season, and you know, on our way trying to get to the Premiership. But it's a good setup there. You know, we've evolved over the years. When I first went in there sort of 4 or 5 years ago, it was sort of there was a Championship setup, but now we are pushing to get ourselves to Premiership status, and we feel like we've got that on the medical side, and we're just close to that on the pitch. You know, recruited well this year with players, and hopefully we'll make the push this year. But you know, obviously, big boots to fill if we can see off Saracens.
Are they very similar worlds, if you like, when it comes to maintaining players in terms of football and rugby? I guess quite similar injuries in some ways that players do pick up.
Yeah, the nice thing with the rugby is it's very varied. You get a lot more upper body injuries, shoulders, the odd elbow. I've had a few hands lately, ruptured thumbs, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's very varied compared to football, where it's normally just sort of majority of stuff is below the waist, knees, ankles, the odd hip. But with the rugby, it's everything from sort of, concussions, neck, head down, It's a real mixed bag.
Must be really pleasing for you to be sort of back involved again after the period of lockdown as well.
Yeah, we I think we had about a period of about 2-3 months, and then we got back fairly early. We was one of the first championship side to do testing, so we test weekly. We COVID tested weekly, and but we're fortunate we only had one positive all the way through. So we've done very well. We think we got some, we got good plan in place, good infrastructure on the COVID testing, and keeping players social distancing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've been fortunate, but and sensible with it.
It must be so enjoyable for you as well to be a part of the Ex-Players Association and to sort of catch up with former teammates, but also guys from different generations as well.
Oh, it's great. It's a great thing. I just set up there, I'd love to have the time to try and put something in place at Brentford as well. It'd be a lovely thing just to set it up. But what the boys have done there with the ex-players is fantastic. It's a really good thing, and it is lovely to catch up with different eras and the era and the boys that you was with as well. It's nice to do that. And although I've got time constraints, I do make it to the dinner, so I always get to that, and it'd be nice to try and get myself on one of the golf days at some point.
Must be really nice for you to reflect as well on the period that you were at the club and the comparative success that you had as well.
Yeah, it's good to catch up with boys and the lads that sort of went on and become more successful, played in high divisions. That's always great to see. When you sort of see them coming through as like little acorns and then developing the big oaks, it's always good to see. But deep, they've gone on and played a high level, but deep down they're still the same old boys.
And just finally, how do you reflect overall on your time at the club?
Oh, loved it. It was brilliant. Both clubs. And I think if you look back as a player, if you give you a lot, you get something back. It doesn't matter how sort of good you are, but if you leave everything on the pitch, like only say, you're coming off the pitch on your knees, and I think if you give you a lot, emptied the tank, and I think the fans sort of see that.
And so pleasing when Wasps came as well, because that was that sort of best of both worlds for you as well.
Yeah, it was, because I sort of followed the Courage Championship way back when I was sort of playing football, because I played rugby at school, really enjoyed it, wasn't professional, played rugby, but always into that, loved me sort of the home nations, like it was the home nations back then, and then to like the Six Nations, but always a keen follower of that. As soon as I retired from the football, I got a season ticket at Wasps when they were at Loftus Road. I got to know a few of the boys there, and so they'd sort me out tickets. And then obviously they moved to Wycombe, which was a plus as well. So really enjoyed my rugby, and that sort of knowing the boys at Wasps, I sort of got offered an opportunity to go and work at Wasps, work there. Went on to London Welsh, and then we moved to Ealing, where I am now.
Obviously, wish you all the best for your time at Ealing, and thank you so much for your time. It's been brilliant to speak to you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Colin. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great to chat to Terry Evans. Really, it's fantastic, isn't it, to catch up with former players, especially from certain eras as well, when you used to go and watch them, and it's obviously fascinating to listen back to older players' stories as well. But ones that you've seen on the terraces,
ones that you can really relate to, and you can you can see them actually there playing the game. Really, really interesting. A very good interview. Well done.
Thank you, and great to find out what players are doing now as well, because you think, I wonder what they're doing now.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. We've got the ultimate coming up in a few moments' time. We do have our poll running. Who is the greatest Wycombe manager of all time? Currently, Gareth slightly in the lead, 53% to Martin O'Neill's 47%. No votes for Sid yet, so come on, Sid fans. It'd be nice for him to get a few. You can find the poll on Twitter. Just use the hashtag TWWS.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Welcome back to the second part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. The second half, you might say. Only there's 3 halves, so that doesn't work.
Yes, yeah, well, we call it first half, second half, and extra time. So we have spoken to lots of former players on the show, even though this is only, I think, the 9th programme that we've done. But we haven't yet spoken to any former managers, but it is about to change now in a big way, because Colin has been speaking to the one, the only Wycombe legend, that is Martin O'Neill.
Really timely that we speak to you in the week of Wycombe Wanderers played Nottingham Forest in the second tier of English football, something which I guess you couldn't have imagined 25 years ago when you were in charge at Adams Park, or perhaps that was something that you thought would be possible.
Well, I think that naturally our ambition was to try and become a Football League team. Wycombe Wanderers, I went down there in the year 1990, and obviously they were a very strong Vauxhall Conference side at the time. But life was changing as it does. I think that the wonderful amateur record, Wycombe, and some terrific history as well too. The old Lokes Park Stadium, but things were changing. At the time, Ivor Beeks had become chairman, very very ambitious, wanting to drive on, and Adams Park was being built at the time. Lokes Park was going to finish, which was a bit of history, and I was sorry to see it go, that old sloping pitch. But nevertheless, it was a new dawn, as it were. And of course, ambition was actually quite high. So the remit for me was, I think, was to try and get the team into the Football League.
Is what you achieved then, is it comparable to getting into the Championship? Now, obviously, it's so different, and the team obviously being part-time and going to full-time as well.
Well, I think that what we had, we just when we became a Football League team, we had obviously it had been tough. My first year, we won the FA Trophy, which is something that Ivor always wanted to achieve, and that was great. And I was as genuinely as delighted for him as I was for myself, of course, and the players. So we pushed on, and we ended up with the same number of points as Colchester, who had been relegated a couple of years before that from the Football League itself, but had been able to retain professional status, and all their players were full-time status. So it was a struggle all year. We ended up with 94 points. I think the third team had Kettering, I think, had about 70 points. So for us to miss out in goal difference there was really, really tough to take. But the players come back with a fantastic attitude. We ended up winning the double, and hence taking ourselves into the Football League. Now, this is the point that I wanted to make, is that our first season, we went up through the playoffs, beating no less a side than Preston North End. And the following year, we were in with the likes of Birmingham City and teams like that. And this was all very, very new to us, new to the players. And I think that's the only year where one team would go up automatically into what is now the Championship, and 4 teams would contest the playoffs. And we finished 6th again in our first year in the what would be called now the First Division. So we went very, very close, and had we gone into the playoffs, who knows? Our record was really good in that. We might have made it into the Championship in 2 consecutive years. However, it didn't materialise. As I said, we finished 6th, and I think Huddersfield Town, for instance, I think might have been one of the teams that went up, along with Birmingham City, who went up automatically. So those are the teams that we were competing against at that particular stage. It was great experience. So the comparisons, I think, would be there. Of course, the same contrast you could imagine as well. But the achievement of the team now today has been absolutely fantastic. Really, really fantastic. So I think that we did all have an ambition to try and as go up as far as we possibly could in the English League. But to wait that length of time now to achieve that in the Championship was really remarkable.
Did it feel like a big step up? Because we spoke to Glyn Creaser recently on the show, and he was saying it was like an ambition fulfilled when you offered him a full-time contract, because obviously he had all the players had other jobs at the time as well, and then to compete in the Football League as well.
Well, it was. Well, first of all, let me say about Glyn Creaser. My first couple of weeks at Wycombe, way back in 1990, was to try and convince Glyn Creaser to stay at the football club, and having a meeting with him one night in Bisham Abbey as we did our training at night time down in the plastic surfaces at Bisham Abbey was as big an achievement as I. Terrific with the players as well too, and all the players looked up to him immensely, and he was a big driving force. So I think he had been tapped up by Barry Fry again at Barnet, and there was a possibility he could earn more money and such things like this here at Barnet. But he decided to stay with us, which was terrific, and hopefully he didn't regret it. So at the age, I think, what age was he, about 30 or 31, for him to come in and want to become a full-time professional footballer when we made it into the Football League, again, was a big moment. And I think some of the players would have followed Glyn as well, too, in that aspect. Everybody, I think only Mark West, who decided, his particular job and perhaps maybe didn't want to do it, become a full-time professional. By the way, West was also a terrific footballer for us. His goal in the against Kidderminster, where he at Wembley to win the FA Trophy, I think just epitomised him. But the players all became professional players, and again found the step up unbelievably difficult to begin with. But as the early weeks disappeared into months of that particular season, we got a grip of things. And to be fair, I don't think we were actually ever out of the top 6 or 7 for most of the season.
It was such an attacking, attractive football as well to watch. Reminded recently, speaking to JDT from the Ex-Players Association, who, as I'm sure you know, put together this fantastic video of you speaking in 2012 at the Veer Suite, and there are clips in there of that first game against Carlisle, and it's so fantastic to sort of recall the great performances and a fantastic group of players as well from that time.
Absolutely. And in terms of attitude, in terms of enthusiasm, in terms of enjoyment, I would put it up there. I would put my time at Wycombe alongside any my time at Aston Villa, my time at Celtic, and my time at Leicester City. There was a fantastic camaraderie. I know it's an overused word, but it really was. It was evocative of the team. They were willing to fight for each other the whole time. But there was an enjoyment during our training sessions as well. And we weren't blessed with any great training ground or anything like this here. We tried different places. We finally settled up at Holmer Green for a while, where there was a man and his wife looked after us very, very well. And they were terrific to us. And after training, the buns and the sandwiches would come out. Honestly, it really was a super, super time for us. And of course, with the results going well on the pitch, that helps immensely. And I look back on that there with really fond memories.
And so many positions as well where you think, fantastic players, in goal. People like John Granville and Paul Hyde, a fantastically strong back line as well. People like Steve Guppy, Dave Carroll, they were all, fantastic to watch. Keith Scott, you mentioned Mark West as well. Some fantastic players and really great sort of Saturday afternoon to spend watching the team.
Oh, you've mentioned all of those players. All of those players played an enormous part in proceedings. Absolutely. They were terrific footballers, and I think really underrated. And by that I mean when I went to Wycombe, first of all, we had Glyn Creaser, Matty Crosley, the Stevie Guppy, Andy Kerr, and the 3 back players that I'm talking about. I'm talking about Crosley, a super player, and Andy Kerr and Glyn Creaser. All were magnificent in the air, really, really magnificent. I thought to myself, well, I've got a real chance here because these players can head the ball. And I've been at Grantham, a couple of leagues below that there for a little while, and these players here at Wycombe were on a different level. So, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I got the job because they'd been on a bit of a bad run. culminating in losing in the FA Trophy to the Metropolitan Police, and I think things got a bit scary for a while. But the players themselves, when I arrived down there, they just needed a bit of confidence building as much as anything else. Stevie Guppy goes on to play for England, and on one occasion, that's a remarkable achievement. Davy Carroll, players like this. Finally, during the summertime, Keith Ryan joined us. His cousin brought him to pre-season. Never looked back. Simon Stapleton. I can go through the whole team. They were just terrific footballers.
And you must be so pleased with the support as well that increased the longer that you were there as well. So it's great atmospheres at Adams Park and away as well. And obviously you mentioned the FA Trophy final against Kidderminster. It just felt like the whole town had gone. And you turn up at the station, you see people that you live with or live near. There are people at the ground that you just go to school with, and it was a really brilliant feeling to get behind the team and such a great day out.
Oh, absolutely, yes, remarkable. I think it was the biggest crowd ever for an FA Trophy final. I think the Kidderminster game, I think there was either 35 or 37,000 people at the game, and we brought about 25,000 people. It was it really was fantastic for us, and for the fans to be there that particular day, to enjoy it, for us to go on to win the game and achieve something at that stage. And of course, that became the springboard for the success that followed.
So on a Saturday, I'd be sort of stood on the terrace amongst a group of people who'd be saying, Martin, give us a wave, Martin, and you would wave and everyone would cheer. That'd be great. Is that something you're always pleased to do? Or were there days when you thought, well, I don't really want to wave today? I'd rather focus on the game, to be honest.
Oh, no. I would rather had somebody shouting, Martin, give us a wave, than tell Martin to go and stick the team somewhere else or something like that. But no, not at all. Absolutely not. It was great for the fans to actually to want to participate in it and to actually enjoy it. And for most of the times, we really did enjoy it. Of course, there are moments there where it didn't go so well for us. And one of the couple of fans behind me, I remember a gentleman once. It was really funny. An oldish man. He stood pretty close to where the teams come out, just to the right hand side, almost like a little enclosure in there. And I forget his name. We'll call him Fred at this moment. I'm sure he's long passed away. But we drew a game with Kidderminster at home, 2-2. It was really very, very good game. And I think that's at that stage of the 21 home games, I think we'd taken about 57 points out of a possible 63, but we'd drawn this day. And as we walked past going, obviously disappointed, I think we conceded a late goal. I remember him saying to me, O'Neill, that's just not good enough. And I turned and I had a bit of a go at him. I said, what are you talking about, not good enough? That's just not good enough, for us. And I said to him, thinking because he was in that little enclosure, he might have had a free ticket. And I said, did you pay to get in here? And he said, of course I did. I said, well, you're entitled to criticise. You're fine. Absolutely. Because I thought if he'd had a freebie, he wouldn't have been entitled to give us that sort of criticism. But because he had actually paid his money, he could say what he wanted. And that was eventually didn't feel like a problem to me when I get into the dressing room.
It's great to get the opportunity to obviously to speak to. I'm sure many fans, will have heard you speaking on TV and stuff like that. We spoke to Glyn Creaser and Terry Evans as well, and said, what's it like to play under him? And Terry Evans made a great comment. He said, he can be very tough sometimes. He could ruin you with just a sentence, which I think are fantastic. And we mentioned the video that's on YouTube with JDT, and there's a fantastic story you tell about one of your players who you told to get warmed up because you're bringing him off, which.
Yeah, that was strangely enough, that was actually a very, very good player. That was John Hartson, and John Hartson was a terrific footballer, really, really great goal scorer inside the penalty area. But John was a wee bit lazy. He would always say to me, "My job is to score goals, and that's fine." So we didn't worry too much about him playing outside the penalty area. But when I went in there, he scored goals, and alongside Henrik Larsson and Chris Sutton, he formed a big part of Celtic's team. But he was rather lazy, and there was moments in the game where I wanted him to do a little bit more. And after about 15 or 20 minutes in one particular game, he actually hadn't touched the ball. And so I remember shouting over to him, it's almost in a joking fashion, it's saying to him, "John, get warmed up, you're coming off." And he didn't take it all that kindly either, believe it or not. And he was a big fellow as well too. So I know I didn't want to really face up to him at half time in the game. But you mentioned Terry Evans there. Terry was another player. I remember Jason Cousins, who was a great player for us. Jason I picked up on a free transfer from Brentford. And Jason was, again, integral part of the success that we had. But he mentioned to me about Terry Evans, and Terry wasn't too happy down at Brentford at the time. The two of them had been good friends, and I thought that there might be an opportunity to bring Terry to the football club. And so we paid £40,000 for him, which was a lot of money for us at the time. And Terry started off, first couple of games, because he hadn't played so regularly for Brentford in the previous couple of months, he didn't start off too cleverly for us, and really did play quite poorly for a couple of games. But I remember saying to him, "Terry, what is up?" He said, "Oh, Gaffer, just give me a little bit of time." He said, "My timing's off at the moment." I remember him saying that, "My timing's off." And I thought to myself, well, that's not just the only thing that's off at this minute. Everything else doesn't seem to be all that clever. But anyway, he pulled himself round. We stayed with him, and then, as I've often said, carried the team for about the next 18 months. He was absolutely super. Came in at a time as well too when Glyn Creaser had picked up a very serious injury himself. He was massive for us in every aspect of the word. Absolutely big character, big in the dressing room again, and great leader.
You mentioned the achievement of getting into the Championship a short time ago. It must have been fantastic for you to be at the Rotherham game, the very first game in the Championship.
You know what? It was a couple of things about that. One, delighted to be asked down. I got a text message from Gareth saying, "Would you be interested in coming to the game?" Absolutely. Then I got in touch with the young lady, and she told me what to do. And so obviously with COVID and things like this here, so you had to be careful. So I got tested. And then I went round the back of the stadium, which I hadn't been there for a long, long time, and up and took my seat up in the on the big stand on the far side, which was really strange, really, because I was watching the game from a completely different perspective. In the fact that as a manager of the football club, I always walked out from the smaller stand now, as it were, from the maybe it's even called the main stand. But, from the dressing room side. So to look at the stadium, not only to look at the stadium, but to look at the pitch from the other side of the ground was really strange for a while. But anyway, the team itself fought remarkably hard. I thought to myself, well, I'll let everybody stay and have their own time to each other. The people were very welcoming to me on the far side, very welcoming indeed. And I left with just about a minute to go. And I got into the car and just switched on the news, just thinking, well, that's at least that's a draw. It's a point in the board. And to find out that Rotherham had scored the late equaliser, or scored the late winner in the game. And a massive disappointment. So, but overall, just to be down there for that game was again, a lovely experience for me.
Former Wycombe Wanderers manager Martin O'Neill speaking to us here at Wycombe Sound. More from Martin in a few moments' time, including his thoughts on John Reardon and also how he thinks the club will get on in the Championship.
Love music, love talk, love Wycombe Sound.
Welcome back to the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Are you enjoying our chat with Martin?
It's been really, really interesting.
Fantastic to have him on the programme. Again, must say a huge thank you to JDT at the Ex-Players Association and also Alan Hutchinson as well for helping to arrange it. It was fantastic speaking to him and to get his thoughts on, well, all sorts really, but obviously the step up from non-league to, you forget, don't you, that they were only part-time players as well.
I do, just incredible to hear that, yes, he was managing part-time players, that he managed Grantham Town, because you think, this was a player of significant standing and had done fantastically at Norwich and obviously at Nottingham Forest, where he was sort of like an apprentice to Brian Clough. So the fact that actually, he managed Grantham and then that he came to Wycombe Wanderers, whereas you possibly think that a player actually of that sort of calibre, these days, will be like Frank Lampard maybe going to Derby, so we were so lucky to have him. That's
definitely
what comes across.
Really fantastic to obviously speak to him as well after Wycombe Wanderers had played at Nottingham Forest, of course, his former club. Also, timely that we should be speaking to him shortly after the news of John Reardon.
John, I'm so sad to hear the news. Really have. I know that he had problems in the last couple of years of his life. I think that Alzheimer's was afflicting him. But he was. When you talk about characters at the football club or any football club, he was an absolute character in every aspect. And initially, I suppose maybe when I went to the football club, first of all, John Reardon was kind of thrust upon me in that sense, in the nicest possible way. But I ever said, "Oh, listen, he'll be a great sounding board. He'll be all of those things." And I suppose me being young, rather impetuous, and wanting to do things on my own, I didn't really want people thrust upon me. I'd rather me make the decisions. Well, I've got to tell you, after a while, I was absolutely delighted with him. Delighted to have his company. He was terrific. He was funny. He was strong character as well too, really strong. Didn't take nonsense from the players either, and would join in some of the games. And I remember John was, a reasonable age at the time, join in the matches, take all the hits as well too from the players coming flying in at him, dust himself down and get on with things. And really, really as brave as a lion. So I saw all of those things remarkably up close that he possessed as a footballer. And of course, I mean, he had a good record himself as a manager, but he, to say that he was a sounding board would be doing him a disservice. He became a really, really good friend. I genuinely loved him dearly. I thought he was great for the football club, magnificent for the football club, and really great for me as well too. Really sorry to hear the news, genuinely.
And what would be your message to Wycombe fans about their perhaps expectations in the Championship? Obviously, it was quite disappointing to go on such a losing run, but to get the first point, to get the first goal, to get the first win, it's been a real kind of, it feels like a corner's been turned.
Well, if the fans had been allowed into the stadium, for a couple of these, certainly particularly some of the early games, I think that would definitely have helped, because the crowd would have been right with the team. And perhaps maybe that game against Rotherham, it could have turned the corner. In fact, perfectly honest, Wycombe could have won the game dead easily. But it was always going to be difficult this season, really difficult. The Championship is a step up, and it's a big step up as well too. And there was going to be enjoyment of the season regardless of results. But I just knew that every single game was going to be a difficult encounter for them. But there's going to be whatever Wycombe lack in certain things. You could never talk about their never say die spirit, which was epitomised, of course, at Wembley in the playoff final. So yeah, I don't think anybody was under any illusion at all that this was a difficult task ahead. But for them to get a couple of wins now, which has been really, really terrific, and it'll give them that sort of boost of confidence that every side needs in this league. Losing some games was almost inevitable. Well, it was inevitable. If they can win the requisite number of matches to keep them in this league for this season, I think that would be an enormous achievement.
Well, it's been fantastic to speak to you. Really appreciate your time. Hope you and your family are staying well, and the lockdown's been kind to you. Have you been doing lots of Zoom calls, I imagine?
I've been doing a few Zoom calls, yes, Colin, I have, and yet remarkably still finding it difficult to press the right buttons here. But I think that I'm the more I do, the more I'm getting used to it. Listen, just to cap it all, I had the time of my life as a manager of Wycombe Wanderers Football Club, and so had my family as well too. My wife and daughters look back in those days with really fond memories, genuinely fond memories. And my two daughters on the pitch at Wembley carrying little flags, and after one of our victories was moments that we'll treasure forever.
You mentioned that video. It must be so nice to sort of look back and, as you say, the opportunity to see your daughters on the pitch. And I know they went to school locally as well. And it must be really nice to kind of look back on that time.
I do, of course. Yeah, they haven't seen it yet. I've deliberately kept them away from it at the moment. But if we can, if lockdown improves and we can all get together again, they're obviously living their own lives at this moment. But if we can, if there was a break in proceedings and Christmas, if people can gather together at Christmas time, it'd be nice to look at it. Absolutely. But wonderful days and as I say, lovely memory of it all.
And I know, so many Wycombe supporters are so pleased and proud for you that, you've gone on to manage such great teams and have such success at, as you say, Leicester and Celtic and Villa as well. And obviously at international level as well. It's been fantastic to follow your career too.
Well, some of these things may not have materialised at all had I not been given this opportunity. And there are lots of people down at Wycombe that I have to thank for that, naturally. Alan Parry for helping me getting an interview, even though it was a late stage and a decision had been made. But I think it was Kenny Swain. Kenny had been offered the job on the Sunday and turned it down on the Monday. And then I got the interview on the Tuesday with Ivor. And so Ivor took me on board. So a lot of the things you never know might not have materialised had I not got that opportunity. And but as I say, it was a wonderful 4 or 5 years of my life, and absolutely and utterly no regrets at all at any stage at all of that there. And I know that my family really loved those days, and I've real fond memories of the football club. Couldn't possibly feel any other way.
Are you hoping for a return to the dugout soon?
Oh, we'll have a look at that. Yes, COVID is determining a lot of in people's lives at this moment. Let's see what might materialise.
I really appreciate your time. It's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
It's a pleasure, Colin. No problem.
What a privilege and a fantastic time to get to chat to Martin O'Neill, and especially having spent so much time sort of watching his teams and following his career as well, and getting to speak to him on Wycombe Sound is really brilliant, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity.
And a fantastic interview as well. Well done.
Much.
But, it came across, how pleased you were to speak to him, but some really good questions as well. And, it's just lovely to hear clearly what Wycombe means to Martin O'Neill. A man who, was a complete legend at various clubs, won so many things at Celtic, but actually saying, well, Wycombe is up there with all of his achievements. Also Leicester, he did incredible things at Leicester. And I know that possibly now looking back at Leicester, things are not tainted exactly by the fact that they won the Premier League, but they've always been a fairly sort of middling club, and Martin really did exceed expectations there, just as he did here, and the fact that yes, he rates winning the conference and the 2 FA trophies and getting the playoff final win up alongside winning all of those titles at Celtic. It's just brilliant,
and it's such a great opportunity to get the behind the scenes sort of stories, if you like, as well. And next time you speak to Gareth, do ask him if there's a couple that supply buns to the team. Because,
that was
because I'd like to know if that's something that's continued.
And the amazing thing about that is it makes it sound like it was ages ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. But yes, people coming out and offering sandwiches and buns to the team after training. I don't think Gareth will be very pleased about that. We have been running our poll, incidentally, which I think is just about to close. We have had a tweet as well saying it's got to be Ainsworth and no question. However, interestingly, if the 2001 manager, who we think you're referring to, Laurie Sanchez, was in there, then he's got competition because the FA Cup semi-final. But out of those 3, definitely Ainsworth. I think with regards to Laurie Sanchez, that was an amazing achievement, but actually compared to what Martin and Gareth and Sid achieved, probably I would put him below them.
And I guess the League Cup run as well with Paul Lambert at Chelsea as well.
That was very impressive as well, wasn't it? So again, they would both be up there, but probably you'd be looking at a top 5 rather than a top 3. Anyway, I can reveal. So Paul Sid didn't actually. Sid got 0%.
Oh,
maybe a little bit too too old for the Twitter generation. Martin O'Neill on 47%, but Gareth Ainsworth winning the poll with 53%. There you are. You've heard it here first.
Absolutely.
Gareth Ainsworth voted the greatest manager in Wycombe's history on Wycombe Sound tonight.
And someone who's undertaking a rather fine challenge to mention
Indeed,
as well.
yes. Thank you very much to Ian Potter, who is a Chairboys fan, who has got in touch as well, saying, can we mention his run that he's doing? He is running from Land's End to John O'Groats. He's doing this starting this on the 21st of Feb. He's got a Just Giving page. If you search for him, so Ian Potter on Just Giving, then he will come up. And we are going to try and chat to him as well on Wycombe Sound on a future date, because, it sounds like a wonderful thing that he is doing. It is in aid of Mind, and yes, we will try and get in touch with Ian to arrange an interview with him.
It's one of those things, isn't it? When you say from Land's End to John O'Groats, it doesn't sound that far if you say it like that.
Indeed, it's quite easy when you just say it like that. Whereas actually, whereas you and I would struggle if we were running from here to Adams Park, probably.
I get out of breath coming up the stairs.
Yeah, and so do I. Absolutely.
Well, it's been a fantastic show. I very much enjoyed it. Great to hear from Terry Evans and also from Martin O'Neill as well. And make sure you keep listening to future programmes, and we'll have other former managers and former players on again. Massive thanks to JDT and Alan at the Ex-Players Association. We'll be speaking to, as I say, other players and other managers, and also Alan in the future as well, to find out a bit more about the Ex-Players Association and the great work that they do.
Good luck to Daryl Horgan, who of course is about to kick off for the Republic of Ireland against him.
He's about to kick off.
He is indeed. It's one of those slightly tricky ones. You think, well, I'd really like to see Daryl do well, but I do sort of want England to win. Could England win 2-1 and Daryl score the Republic of Ireland's goal? That would be nice.
That would be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be very good. On next week's show, we will be looking forward to the game against Brentford, which will be happening a week on Saturday.
Fantastic. Hopefully Gareth will be mended by then as well.
Indeed, I think, yes, he probably will. And hopefully we'll get to speak to him in the week as well.
Fantastic. Plenty to look forward to. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you very much indeed for listening. If you'd like to hear it again, or perhaps you've missed it, although if you have missed it, you're probably not listening now, don't forget there's a podcast to watch out for as well.